If you love chicken pot pie but hate all the work, this recipe is for you. Today, we're gonna bust out our crock pot and make crock pot chicken pot pie soup. Yes, you heard it, all the flavors of chicken pot pie, but in a delicious soup recipe. Hi, I'm Carrie with eatingonadime.com, and we're on a mission to help families eat well on a budget. You're going to love today's crock pot recipe, and if you're new around here, we are doing a crock pot recipe every single month to celebrate Crocktober. So make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any more of our family-friendly crock pot recipes. Also, linked in the description below, you will find today's recipe, but you will also find a link to our Crocktober digital cookbook, and it's marked with a really nice discount right now for you in the description as well. Okay, it's time to get our ingredients and make chicken pot pie soup. Now we're gonna start with 3 to 4 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Now you'll probably see that I have a little bit more, and that's because I bought the really thin ones because they were marked down. And you know, I love a good discount on meat, and so instead of using the regular, I just decided to go ahead and grab these thin ones. So you just want to get enough for your family size, which tends to be 3 to 4 pieces. I like them not frozen, and I just place them right into the crock pot. Next, we need celery. We're gonna need about a half a cup chopped. A little tip, when you have to buy a whole thing of celery, but you only need a little bit, go ahead and chop it all up and then throw it in the freezer in a freezer bag. Once it's chopped up and in the freezer bag, you just pull out what you need, bang it on the counter, and scoop out the half a cup or cup that you need for your recipe. It's a great way to save money and a great way to save time. So we're gonna chop up some of these. The first thing we're gonna do is get off the leafy parts. You can keep the leafy parts if you want to. Now when I chop them, I run my knife down the middle lengthwise 1 or 2 times depending on how the celery is, and then I just run my knife through it and chop it up. It's super easy to do, and I like them to be pretty small so that way they'll fit on a spoon. So you can keep them where you just run your knife one way, but I like to actually run my knife through it 1 or 2 times so that way they are more bite-sized pieces, and then when you're eating the soup, you don't get that chunky pieces, that shreds, but you'll still get the benefits and the flavor of the celery. Then we're going to add this to the crock pot. Little tip there, when you're using your knife, use the back of your knife to scrape the food into the crock pot, not the front of your knife, because when you use the front of your knife, the sharp end, you'll actually dull the blade and have to sharpen it more. Speaking of that, I love this knife, and I have this linked in my kitchen tools, and we have that linked for you below as well. It's amazing. You don't need a huge set of knives. You just need 1 or 2 really good knives and a knife sharpener. Next, we need 3 russet potatoes. You can use Yukon Gold or even red potatoes, but I personally love russet potatoes in a soup. They just get really soft. I highly recommend you peel your potatoes. Now, a little tip that I like to tell people, because some people struggle with peeling potatoes without hurting their fingers. And so I always hold the potato like this, and then I peel the sides first so I have a really good grip. No fingers are hurt. Then you grab the potato like this and peel the ends. It sounds silly, but it's so great. It's just a faster and easier way to peel your potatoes. And then I'm kind of a crazy person. I just leave the peels on my counter, and that way when I'm done, I can just swoop it up and throw them away. Instead of trying to peel them into a trash can, that way you don't have to worry about any aim and you end up with a big mess. You just have one small mess to clean up. Now, my other time-saving tip is to actually get multiples of these. Get your kids involved. Teach them my method on how to peel potatoes, and then you can get them involved and it makes it go by even faster. The potatoes are peeled and now we're ready to dice them up. I like to cut them halfway lengthwise first to give me a good cutting spot. Then I like to cut them in half lengthwise again. So I have like these strips. Hopefully this makes sense. Then we're going to cut them on the long ways to make almost like French fries. Once you've done that, we're going to turn them and then just run our knife through them to make diced up potatoes. Now you don't want these giant whole potatoes. You want them diced up to where they will fit on a spoon. So think about that when you're cutting them. Anytime you're making a soup, you want it to fit onto a spoon. Off to the pot you go. Now one more tip for you is when you're cutting, we tend to cut right here, and actually you want to cut in the middle of the knife, the biggest part of the knife, because it has the most weight and it'll actually make it easier to cut. So if you find yourself pulling the knife back to cut, actually move it forward and you'll see it's so much easier. Okay, my last set of potatoes are going in the crock pot. I hope you're liking the little tips because I know that I want to be able to make our recipes. They're delicious and easy, but I want to be able to help you make it even easier. Now, if you're wanting to be extra lazy and you don't want to chop up potatoes, head to the grocery store and grab a bag of frozen hash brown potatoes. Get the diced ones, throw that in instead of the potatoes, and it's still going to taste amazing. Now we're going to clean this, move this out of the way, and then we're going to add our seasonings. We need 1/4 teaspoon of poultry seasoning, a teaspoon of minced garlic, and I've used pre-minced garlic, meaning like it's just from the refrigerator section, but you can mince your own garlic if you want to, and then a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper. Last but not least, we need 4 cups of chicken broth, which just comes to a carton of chicken broth. We've already measured, it's 4 cups. But if you don't want to use chicken broth, you can use those bouillon cubes or anything like that to make your own, but you'll need 4 cups of liquid. You can just do water if you want to. I prefer to do broth because it has a bigger punch of a flavor for a soup, and since you're making a soup. But if you don't, that's okay. If you're tight on money, you could do half broth and half water, and you'll still get a little bit of that extra flavor that we love for a soup. But you're not having to spend all the money because you're not doing all 4 of them. So we're going to add the lid and slow cook this all day. Cook on low for 6 to 8 hours or high for 3 to 4 hours. We want that chicken completely shreddable because we're going to shred it and dice it up so it's perfect at the soup consistency, because remember, we want it to fit on a spoon. Okay, so it's been cooking and I totally goofed up, but instead of just reshooting the video, I'm just fastening up my goofed upness. Is that a word? And what I forgot to do is add my peas and carrots in my cream of chicken soup and milk. I'm crazy, it's okay. But here, what we're gonna do is throw in a bag of peas and carrots. Now the best part about it is that this does not take long to cook. So we're gonna mix this in. Even if you forget, it's just gonna need a little bit of time to cook. So simple and easy. The peas and carrots cook really quickly. Then we need to stir in cream of chicken soup, just 1 can. And if you don't like using cream of chicken soup, we have a homemade version on Eat on a Dime as well that I think you'll love. So I'm just gonna mix that in. It's already smelling delicious. Next, we're just gonna add in 2 cups of milk, or you can use heavy cream if you've got it. I am going to stir in a little cornstarch as well. This is optional, but cornstarch helps you thicken sauces. And so instead of just pouring in the cold milk, I'm just gonna pour in some cornstarch, mix it up, and then pour it right in. So that way, while it's heating through, it'll also thicken as well. You can also do xanthan gum if you would like to. Just gonna mix this up real quick. And now that I got it mixed up, we're just going to stir this in and let it heat through. Now we just have a few more things left. Now, this chicken pot pie soup, all the stuffing of chicken pot pie is in the soup form. And since we don't have that delicious crust, we're serving it with biscuits. Now I'm just using cheap canned biscuits, like the Grand's kind, but you can actually make them homemade if you want to, but I don't want to today. But we do have some recipes for homemade biscuits that are delicious and very easy to make. So I'm just gonna place these out and we're gonna get these in the oven till they're beautiful brown and ready to serve. While these are cooking, we're going to shred our chicken. I've removed the chicken from the crock pot, and then we're just gonna take 2 forks and shred it. As you can see, it's literally just falling apart. So you don't even have to put out much work to get it shredded. Then after I get it shredded, I wanna just take a large knife and run my knife through it. And the reason I'm doing this is because see how big these pieces are? I want them cut in half so they are more bite-sized that'll fit on your spoon. Since it is a soup, remember we want everything to fit on a spoon. The biscuits are nice and brown and ready, and so we're ready to eat. It smells delicious and I am ready to dig in. All you gotta do is ladle it. It's thickened up. If you have trouble with it thickening, make sure you remove the lid. But look, it's a delicious, creamy soup that tastes just like chicken pot pie. Now you're gonna serve it. Ooh, look at that, yummy. I like to serve it with some crushed black pepper on top, and then you're gonna serve it with your biscuit. You can place your biscuit right on top, but I don't like my biscuit soggy. You can pour it into pieces and mix it on top, or you can be like me and you're a dipper. This screams comfort food. This is the perfect meal to make on a really cold day, so save this recipe for when it gets colder. I'm so pumped, friends. Remember, if you like today's recipe and this video, make sure you like and subscribe. And don't forget that you can get the full recipe linked in the description below. And don't forget to grab our, sorry, I'm talking with my mouth full. I just can't stop eating it. Don't forget to grab our Crocktober digital cookbook. It's on sale right now because we are doing crock pot recipes all month long. And I think you're gonna love this one. So you gotta give it a try. Remember, if you do try the recipe, make sure you go to the actual recipe and leave a rating, comment. We love hearing from you and hearing how you're liking it. So make sure you do that. Okay. That's so good, I can't stop eating it. Thanks so much for joining me today. Remember, we're doing crockpot recipes all month long, and I will see you next time in my kitchen for another delicious crockpot recipe.